Okay, everybody, hello. Good evening. A round of applause for all the films and all the filmmakers. Great. My name is Jason Statham. But the festival budget's a little tight this year, so they had to get me off Temu. Squish. Really my name is Harley Neville, and I'm the producer and one of the actors in the final film, New Followers. And tonight I'm also going to be hosting the Q&A with the filmmakers that are here. So all of the filmmakers that are here that would like to be involved, why don't you come on down? Yeah. Little known fact, I went to school here in Te Awamutu. I was here for a year, so it's really cool to be back. Cool. As mentioned, I'm the producer of New Followers and one of the actors. I thought we could start by sort of saying who we each are and which film we worked on and what our position was on that film. And we'll start with Adam at the end.
Hi, I'm Adam, and I wrote and directed Surgical Precision, the one with the doctor and the dog.
My name's Peter, and I produced the film where they find the man digging a hole in the forest. There were about 3 of them when there were holes in the forest tonight, and it turned out to be a dog. Yeah.
Cool. Hi, I'm Aaron. I did the animation and the direction of Rise Above, the music video.
Wow. Kia ora, I'm Taniora. I'm the writer-director for The Great South.
Hi, I'm Anya. I'm the writer-director for the 5 Minutes Alone, the weird lesbians running away from their children. And then the poetry one with me and the TV. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Kelly Fritz. I produced 5 Minutes Alone, and I also produced Surgical Precision and then production design on that film.
And helped me edit.
Which I forgot about.
Yeah. The Ferret and the Rabbit.
Okay, cool. So I guess we'll start on the end again. How did you come up with the idea for the film? What made you think it would be a good short film?
I always like sort of medical things and horror, and we just had this idea about someone using telekinesis for good rather than for just exploding heads like they do on most telekinetic movies. And then I thought, well, if somebody was able to do that, then other people would want to use it for nefarious means. And then I like the idea of him having to actually use it to harm people rather than to help people.
Going for a run through the bushes one day, and it was just one of those kind of intrusive thoughts that make you think, what would happen if you found someone digging a hole and burying a body, and where does it go from there? And the options are endless. So just got the team together and just went for it. Yeah, had some fun.
My friend Dave up here, he brought the song Rise Above to me and thought, wouldn't it be cool if you could direct a music video? And I thought, okay. I didn't plan initially to animate it, but as I listened to the song, I developed storyboards, and then I kind of went, I'm going to have to animate this. This works really cool, and that that was pretty much it. And I was just, my basic concept was, how do I tell a story using limited animation in a different way, sort of thing. So instead of doing the hero's journey from like left to right sort of thing, I decided to do up and down, and that is a different way for narrative. Yeah.
Great. With New Followers, I'm the producer, so I didn't come up with the storyline myself, but it was written by my best friend and longtime collaborator, Guy Pigden, who's also the director. And we applied to the Film Commission for funding, and I applied with a few different teams, few different directors, and this was the one that got the funding, which was great because that was my sort of longest term collaborator. So we got the Catalyst funding for that film, which is $105,000 to shoot the short and $10,000 to write the feature-length script. So it was a big opportunity for us, big sort of step up. A lot of our films are nowhere near those types of budgets. So I was obviously on board straight from the very beginning, right from the application all the way through. I always liked the story, and I like the idea of finding out that it's a a channel. You're watching the edit of the killer. You're watching his channel on the dark web, and he's got his dark web deviant audience, which is the bit of the film that really appeals to me. I think it's a cool original idea. So, yeah, as soon as I read it, I really hoped we'd get the money, and we did.
For my film, The Great South, it's pretty much a response to the ram raids that were so frequent a few years ago. I became sort of obsessed with what kind of mental state does someone have to be to kind of go off and do those sort of things. And being from South Auckland, I feel like I have a unique perspective on that story and sort of the hardships that, the young kids face on a daily basis. So I wanted to, sort of share a perspective that's a little bit more nuanced and not so glamorized like it is in the newspapers and all that. Yeah.
So 5 Minutes Alone was a 48 hours film. So naturally we were all there late on the Friday night trying to figure out what to do and going down all sorts of rabbit holes. And then Penny from the movie was like, because our theme was lovers on the run, and she was like, what if they're running away from their kids? And we were like, oh yeah, that's great. It's so relatable, it's so universal, it's so mainstream. And then we got nominated for Incredibly Strange. So we were trying really hard to be mainstream. And The Ferret and the Rabbit just came from, I've wanted to be a filmmaker for a while, and I've had I feel like basically most of my experiences in the film industry have been quite hard, and definitely not set up for people like me. And I just sort of faced another setback, and I felt like I'd faced quite a lot, and so it was just my way to kind of keep going, because often when I experience things like that, I just sort of think, what's the point? But then I can't stop, so I just thought, oh fuck it, I'm going to make something come hell or high water. It doesn't matter if I have no money or if I have to do it single-handedly with one finger, I'll make something, and that's what I made. So yeah.
Your hand was at the time, so you did kind of make it with one finger. That's why I had to help at it. I think you've already answered the 5 Minutes Alone. I do remember there were a lot of other iterations of Lovers on the Run we tried. This is a mature run, right? Yeah, we did have Orgy on the Run, but we thought that might be too much for the 48. It's not mainstream enough, no. But yeah, so that was our stories. Yeah.
Hold on to the mic, because we'll start on your end now. What was one of the big challenges on the shoot? Because obviously your one was 48 hours. That's how long you guys had. And so I'd like to know from everybody kind of how long your shoot was and what was sort of a big challenge, something that maybe went wrong or, something like that.
Did anything go wrong?
There's one thing that went wrong.
Oh, you mean this?
I'm going to out it.
Okay. I think what happened is you produce a film that you can produce in 48 hours. The version that you saw tonight was there's the director's cut of us. Yeah, so it's different. So I'd say, we tweaked it, and then we were finally able to tell the story that we really wanted to tell a little more effectively. Yeah, in the second edit. Yeah.
It went amazingly well, to be honest. Like, we didn't... so the only setback we did really have was on the night we came up with that idea, and we had got Lovers on the Run, and we'd pre-booked some people to come act for us. And I said to them, we have a problem here, guys, because we have one man and one woman, and I refuse to direct a story about heterosexuals. So, but then the female actor wasn't comfortable to play a queer character. I'm not sure why, because I'd never met her. She just was coming up from Auckland, and she said no. So then we had to get Penny and Jessie, who were never supposed to be actors, and it was their first time acting, and they did an amazing job. But other than that, it went really, really well, actually. It was really fun. There was such a good vibe. We were joking around, so yeah. And the other film, I don't know, I'll pass the mic on because I am talking too long.
So with the Great South, it was limited by sort of the restraints of it being a student film, and the nature of not having a lot of money, not having a lot of time as well. The biggest sort of hurdle that we had to overcome was the public. We shot in a lot of public spaces, and although we tried our best to sort of mitigate sort of running into issues, of course you have people that don't care that you're trying to make a film, and people who for some reason like to play tennis at like 10 o'clock at night, which is like horrible for sound, and was a whole headache in itself. But I'm so proud of what we managed to do given all the things going against us.
Our film, we shot it. We did a 3-day recce down at the Milford track to find out where we were actually going to film and what we were going to do, because we're based in Auckland. And then we did a 3-day shoot down there, which involved taking the cast and crew onto the actual track, going across the water, the Milford track, walking the first part of the Milford track to the hut, and staying there for one night, which had all been very smoothly. There was no dramas, but for me as the producer, it was kind of very nerve-wracking, because it's kind of a health and safety nightmare. You can imagine, like, that's that's on me if something goes wrong. And so you could imagine the stress of like, oh, okay, what if one of these actors sprains their ankle halfway through along the track, or or somebody gets hypothermia, because it was in the off season. We were filming the off season, so there was no rangers, there was no gas in the huts, there was no electricity in the huts. It was just there was running water, but you're supposed to take your own. And so so it was and then we did 4 more days or so up here in Auckland, or up there in Auckland, pretending it was down there. But in terms of things going wrong, it was actually pretty smooth. I can't really think of anything major that went wrong. After this one, we will ask the audience if they've got any questions. So start thinking if you've got any questions for anybody here.
Well, Rise Above was, I made that over 12 weeks. So in that entire time, I had to do the concept, character design, backgrounds, animation, and that. So I was changing animation right up to like 2 days. We'd set a date of like February the 14th to release it. Yeah. And the biggest trouble for me was lighting with stop motion, and that is very flickery. You can see some of those shots are quite flickery. The best way for me to deal with it at the time was to shoot in natural daylight rather than use lights. The lights were terrible. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I admire you, because it's a long, lonely process, sitting in a room, inside, doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I've got a mate who doesn't, and it's just, it's a good effort. Look, for our film, we didn't really have any, I wouldn't say any issues. In and out in one day, we kind of make it like that because that's all the time we can afford. So I'd say probably more of a general idea that the issues we face is that we've been making shit films for 25 years now. And I mean, fortunately, we're getting better and better at what we do, probably much like everyone here. You just get, you go from making absolute garbage to something that's kind of slightly digestible towards the end. But the older we get, the more experience we get, but the less people want to help you, and the less time you have to do it. We've got kids, we've got mortgages, we've got places to go. I'm on the road for work, so just getting people together to make it all work suddenly becomes a real tricky thing to do, which is kind of ironic. At the time you probably want to make the best films you can. I wish I was sort of 20 again, really, with all the abilities we had when people had nothing else to do but go to university and then come and act for you. So that's kind of more of a general issue. So yeah.
I mean, we filmed for 4 nights, and it was all night on those nights, and it was very long and very tiring, and everyone really stepped up and did amazing work, but it was hard. And on top of that, we were trying to wrangle a dog who wanted to be with me the whole time. And so I remember Kelly having to hold the dog in another room when he kept whining and trying to break out during each shot. But and we had to strap sausages to the camera so he would look at it. So that was good.
Was that the Great Dane? Yeah.
So does anybody in the audience have any questions for anybody here? Be brave.
How many litres of blood did you use, Adam?
Only about 10. I made up 30, so I've still got 20 in my garage.
What's the chunky stuff in there?
Mostly plums.
Oh, yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Did you stain the floor?
No, I had 2 types of blood. One with detergent in it, and then one with that he could put in his mouth. And we tried not to mix them up.
Yeah.
Good thinking. Good thinking. Any other questions from the audience? Here we go, up the back.
What are you up to with the feature?
The feature version of New Followers. So that's all progressing really nicely. So the idea, right, is they fund the short, they help you fund the writing of the feature, but then they don't give you any money for the feature. That's a whole separate application. So I asked them in a meeting, when I say them, I mean the Film Commission, I asked them at the time if any of the Catalyst films had actually been made into features, and at the time they were like, no, I don't think any of them have. But that's changed now because Help I'm Alien Pregnant was a short done produced by Alex Whittaker, and then that they've just made the feature, which is called Mum, I'm Alien Pregnant. So that was a Catalyst film. So yeah, that's no longer true. So in the case of our feature, the script is written, and I just went to Vegas a couple of weeks ago for the American film market, which is a big market where they buy and sell movies, but it's also a place where you can try to get funding. So I went there with the intention of getting 10% of the funding from outside investors, so that when I apply to the Film Commission with this great script, and this the film's won an award now as well, so I've got an award-winning short, I've got a feature script, I've got 10% outside investment, and so I can hopefully apply to the Film Commission, and they give us the remainder under their production. I think it's called the production fund. So they fund 8 films per year at the moment, at up to $2.5 million per film, and we're going to be we're aiming for $500,000 to $1 million for our film. So so I was trying to raise $50,000 to $100,000 in Vegas. So now that I'm back, this is kind of hot off the press, fresh news, is that I've now it went really well with the sales agents and the potential investors, and now I've got to follow up, send them the new script, all that type of thing. Hopefully they go for it, and if they do, we then take that to the Film Commission and apply and pray, basically. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
The one thing that I know is that it's like kind of like the Blair Witch, and I went, do you take Blair Witch and then put it onto that?
Yeah, well, Blair Witch is definitely one of the inspirations for that film. Blair Witch was kind of the one that started it all, right? And then after that one was Paranormal Activity, which also did amazing. So it's definitely inspired by it. What I like about this version of it is that it's a very contemporary sort of found footage, in the sense that it's an edited video on someone's channel, right? So now all the old rules about found footage, you can throw them away. It used to be you had to justify why the camera was there in every single scene. Okay, but why are they filming? Okay, but why does it look that way? Now, with this version, you can edit it highly, you can add music, you can use drone shots, you can use transitions, you can do all the cinematic tricks and still call it a found footage, because what happened was, all of these YouTube influencers, they were filming on good gear. The killer's got his own gear, and then the killer has killed them all, taken all of their footage and edited it himself for his own dark web audience, which means it's still technically found footage, even though it doesn't necessarily seem like it all the time. So yeah, that's what I really like about that. But yeah, totally inspired in part by Blair Witch, of course. Yeah. More questions? Yes, Sam. This is Sam from the Chris and Sam podcast.
Yeah, and I'm the festival coordinator for this as well. Of course, we've just heard from you, Harley, about what your next step is for your short film going to a feature. What are the other filmmakers, what are your next projects or ideas that you may have, or things that you're exploring? I'd love to know. So we can see you again here next year with new films.
Oh, you probably will. I've got a music video coming out next Friday for a heavy metal band, Rise the Wicked. It's called Small City, and in that I've created a city out of like cardboard and spray paint, filmed the band and put them on screens within the city, and like at the end it all just burns. And it looks great. And I'm also working on I've got funding for a short film with a Hamilton poet called Bruce Cooper. So we're filming his stuff in kind of creative ways and working out how to package that up for festivals. We've submitted one part to a festival and it got an honourable mention there. So we just keep building it and release that next year. Cool.
Lucky enough we have just done something because we haven't done anything in a long time. We just made a horror film actually, 2 nights I should say, which got harder and harder because it's getting lighter and lighter, so we've got to push it later and later. So just 2 nights, simple concept, a woman travels into the country to get some long exposure imagery on a camera, just a hobbyist, and after a while she kind of is looking through her great imagery and realises you can see a sort of a blur in the image, and the blurry image gets closer and closer, and the rest turns into a hopefully a scary horror film. So that's kind of where we're at, just editing away. So other than that, that's keeping us pretty busy.
I'm in the middle of producing a short that's being written and directed by Sash Rinaldi, who was the guy vomiting up all the blood. It's a martial arts film, so we're halfway through that. And together with Sasha, I'm going to be pitching a feature film to the pitching panel tomorrow.
Horror seems to be like everyone's sort of flavor right now. I'm trying my hand at a supernatural thriller that's deeply rooted in Māori traditions. I'm recently just trying to get some money behind it so I can really sort of try and level up my skills and, make another me movie.
I kind of have been working on 500 million projects simultaneously, writing a lot, applying for a lot of applications. I'm currently working as the production designer on like a Wave in the Ocean short, which is a fund for a bunch of filmmakers, so that's pretty challenging. But I think I'm getting a bit over applying for funding because you can kind of just lose your whole life to it. So my next step is actually to self-fund something, and I need to decide what that is. Possibly a surrealist, weird movie set in my mum and dad's house, so wait for it.
I will also be producing tomorrow at the Pitching to Producers. I've got a coming of age YA set at a theater. Yep, and I've just got a lot of stories. Yeah, I've got a lot of ideas, and I'm looking forward to really delving into my creativity this year. Just to pay the bills, I'm like a one-woman crew. And I'll be going to Australia in a few weeks for the first time and doing some shooting there for some videos. So I ideally want to hand a camera over to other people at this stage. But that's just not how things work anymore. But yeah, that's pretty exciting.
Paige had a question?
Oh yeah, for Taniora, I was going to ask.
Hi Paige.
Hello. What stage of production did you decide to do like black and white with the red and blue colours?
Pretty much from the jump. Originally, the story is a little bit different. I wanted to have the perspective of a cop be like the B story, and we cut to from the boys to the cop throughout the entire film. And I was going to have the police officer's perspective be black and white, where the boys' perspective was all color, just to sort of show that to this police officer the world is only black and white. There's no shades of grey. And then later along, a couple of drafts later, I originally got rid of the police officer's perspective, hopefully to save it for a feature film. I just solely focused on the 2 boys. But I still like the idea of shooting black and white, just as sort of the meta-narrative behind it. Also, it saved my ass in color grading. I didn't have to worry about color temperature while I was shooting, or the quality of light that I was working with. So like a real neo-noir sort of aesthetic really complements that. So, budget. Oh yeah. The reason I have some color, by the way, the red and blue is it has like a few meanings. Like obviously, you know, the police is obviously the biggest sort of example. Also relates to gangs and all that stuff, but ultimately, whenever you see the either color red or blue, it's sort of like a red herring. It's some sort of force against the two boys, and something's always, you know, on the wings waiting to disrupt their day.
And the red on his bruise as well. I didn't notice that coming out. More audience questions.
Okay. Here we go. When you were shooting black and white, did you purposely choose filters to bring out the blacks better, or did you just in post flick it to black and white?
Yeah, we definitely, me and my wonderful the director of photography, Chris, who's here today, we had a lot of discussions about how we wanted to approach lighting. Specifically because we're filming in public spaces and we wouldn't be able to rig up any elaborate lighting setups or really set up any lights to really mess around with what we want. So we went ahead and planned ahead for that and made sure that we were working with the light available to us. Making sure that we always wanted a little bit of shadow in some places to really sort of dirty up the frame. I'm not really a big fan of the modern day sort of look that movies have where everything's sharp and you see every follicle of like someone's face. So we tried our best to dirty up the frame as much as we can, and I think it only helps to sort of add towards the story, you know. It's not so pristine and clean and everything's got a little bit of, most of our frames we chose to be dirty. There's always something blocking you from seeing the characters in some way, and that was definitely a big conversation my cinematographer and I had beforehand.
We also had like 4 of our classmates on 2 days spending 2 hours carting around like 20-litre containers of water to make everything wet.
Yeah, for the night stuff, a little cheap trick is like the ground looks cooler at night when it's wet because of a lot of the reflections. But we obviously student film, so we don't really have access to like a big truck to like hose everything down. So I literally had like some friends come on set and with a chili bin of water and just throw it on the ground and brush it all over. You know, you gotta do what you gotta do to make it look nice, and then maybe after like 10 minutes they manage to get it done, and you know, it looks nice. Even though it's barely, you know, you barely see the shots, you know. It's worth it in the end.
Okay, so if we don't have any more audience questions, which don't be shy, please just put up your hand if you do, then I've just got one last question, which is I'd like to ask you all if there was somebody here in the audience that wanted to maybe make their first film or wanted to get into filmmaking, or maybe they've already, who knows, what piece of advice would you give to a filmmaker who wants to get into this? And I guess I'll go first because I've got the mic. But I guess my advice would be to get started, just to make something. Don't let the doubts get to you. Just start making something, anything at all, and complete it, whatever it is. Even if you get halfway through and don't like it anymore, just finish it. And because you'll learn a lesson on it, you'll learn something good, which you'll be able to apply to your next one. And then another little piece of advice would be, say you don't have the ability to go out and just make a movie. Go out and work on other people's content. You can find them online. There's websites like thebigidea.co.nz and other places like that where you can go along and you can be an extra in people's productions, or you can be an assistant, or you can do anything like that. And basically just get out there and get started, because you'll make friends on those shoots that maybe years and years and years later will be able to help you on your productions, or will introduce you to somebody or something along those lines. So yeah, just get started really. And I guess we'll start at the end.
Find a film that you really like, something that you couldn't possibly ever make, and then make it your way with what you've got. So if you haven't got an explosion, do something else that looks like an explosion with what you've got, and you'll always find something interesting to film or do. And restriction is the mother of invention, I think. And yeah, just if you don't know how to do something, you'll turn it on its head.
I remember a few years ago watching some films back that we'd made in our 20s and late teens, and saying to my friend, "Oh, that was awful. Look what we've done there. Oh, isn't that just cringeworthy?" And he looked at me and he said something I'll never forget. He goes, "But Peter, that's the journey you take. That's all part of the journey, and that's the only reason you're here now. So you've got to you got to cook 1,000 crap dinners before you get the really good one. So and just take opportunities. There's plenty of opportunities out there. There's no such thing as luck. You just go for it."
Oh, well, I agree with all these guys. That's great advice. Another thing is just plan as much as you can. Sometimes the film just starts coming out in the edit as well. Like my latest music video, it was sitting there and just going so much footage to get the right outs, to get the right flow. Quite plan that early stages. It happens after. Yeah.
If you're like from nothing, get your foot on the door. Me, YouTube. There's nearly a million different videos to look for inspiration or some new technique you can learn, or operating, camera, all of it's on YouTube. That's we talk about school YouTube, man. It's free.
Nice. Yeah, I agree with those. I've been trying to think of the answer to this question because I think it's a big question. It's massive. I think if you're wanting to make your own stuff, that's one thing. If you're wanting to go work on production, I think just learn as much as you can. For me, the industry has been a bit of a bitch slap sometimes. Just like learning things you don't know. Sometimes there's like training, or it's not exactly the most free industry to kind of to if you don't know ropes. So learning those things, I think networking is really important. What I've learned is like I spent years writing and trying to perfect my craft, applying for things. It's only really since I've right people had the right net where I've felt things have sort of started to happen and opportunities started to come. So it's very, very nepotistic industry. So is that nepotism? That's not family, right? Yeah, it's who you know. It's all word of mouth. People hire people already know. So to go places and meet people is incredibly important, more important than how talented you are, I think. I think develop a thick skin, don't be too much a perfectionist, and just I think is really good. Really helped me because I am a perfectionist, which held me back a lot from things. So I'm to be shit. And just let it be, 48 hours and just trust people. Try not to be too much of a control freak. This is just me talking to my old self. So if my old self is in the audience. So collaborating with people, maybe be aware of what other people are thinking. I think on set, making can be like a pressure cooker environment. People can get really and it's something out the best managing relationships and self-care. But just I think that's the best advice. And figure out how to think that isn't grandiose. I'm still trying to do.
That brings me to what I was going to talk about. Actually, the art of writing to what you know how to do. And when you've done it long and you've studied YouTube videos and you learn how fun and film, you learn what you're capable of so that when some idea, you can say, yes, that's possible. No, that's not possible with this budget. And so really, yeah, the art of writing to what you have available and to what you know is possible. And the more you do it, the higher level you're going to get and the more complex you go. So that's probably, the biggest thing that I've learned and that I'm going to, be working on myself because, if self-funded, meaning what's available to you. And then the other giant thing is audio is way more important than you think it's going to be. So get a good audio person, and if there's anything you can do is, get your audio clean, and don't be afraid to tell people to shut up when they're in the other room and they're talking, and they're not doing it on purpose, but yeah. I've just done a lot of that on sets. I think that's, so I think that's mine.
Oh, and one more piece of advice is just be prepared for chaos. It's all quite disorganised and chaotic, so don't be surprised if they're texting you at 11 p.m. the night before that they want you at 6 a.m. in Tauranga, so it's just normal.
Can I just say before I hand you the mic, bro, big thank you to Misty Flicks for having all of us. It's my first time with you, but you have a wonderful town and a really cool theatre, so thanks for having us.
Yes, exactly. And thank you to our filmmakers. And thank you to all of you for coming out tonight and supporting little arty, cool short films as well. Well done. Where's the after party? Saturday night? Yeah, this is the after party. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody.